Here's your neighborhood moment, a chance to find out about events, activities, and what's happening in your area.
Hi, I'm Kyle Price. I'm the chair of the North End Neighborhood Council. Welcome to another episode of the North End Neighborhood Moment, or if this is your first time catching the show, then welcome to your first time catching the show. The North End Neighborhood Council, you can find out more, obviously, about what's going on in the neighborhood by going to our website, www.nenc.org, or by checking out our Facebook page. We have over 2,000 people following us there, and that's a good place to keep in touch with things that are going on in the neighborhood. And joining me today, because we have actually some large projects going on in the North End, so we have Andrea Smith, who's a member of the Metro Parks Board, and then we also have Elliott Barnett, who is a planner with the City of Tacoma. Welcome to you both.
Great to be here, Kyle.
Great to be here.
Andrea, let's go ahead and start with you. There's one of the big projects that's going on with Metro Parks is the bond money still that we're using from a past election cycle. And one of the big things that I know North Enders really appreciate is Ruston Way and the access to the waterfront. So maybe you could say a few words about some of those Ruston Way projects that are coming along.
Certainly. So in conjunction with the City of Tacoma, starting in 2017, we've been doing a 2-year planning effort for Ruston Way in particular. It started at the very first fall when we closed Ruston Way, and it's only available for bicycles and pedestrians. And we started capturing, what do people want on the waterfront? You know, what's important to them? So it's been a 2-year process of gathering information about what's important to them about Ruston Way.
And what kinds of things do people say? Are there? I mean, and I'm sure you've been to several of these get-togethers where people come in and say the things that they like and whatever. What kinds of things do they say?
So as we all know, it's a challenging roadway because we have the railroad on one side and we have the water on the other side. So things that we've heard are people really would like a definite division between the walkers and the bike riders for safety purposes. At the same time, they're also really would like us to, if possible, enhance the shoreline to more natural uses where it's possible. One instance is near where the creek comes out down by Katy Downs, make it more like a culvert so salmon can actually go up into the gulch that's right there.
And also, I mean, even though it's not in the North End, there's the big projects, of course, that are happening down closer to Point Defiance. That's pretty exciting, those projects too. Do you want to say a few words about those?
Yeah, so many people know we opened a brand new aquarium in Point Defiance this year. That was one of our bond projects. We also have been working with EPA and reclaiming what we're calling Dune Peninsula. So that's down by the yacht club on the other side of Point Ruston. And that park will be open sometime this spring.
That's pretty exciting. And the other developments on Ruston Way with the process that you had with the consultant, when do you hear back, or when do we know definite plans about what's going to happen in the areas that are maybe more specifically North End areas?
So the last couple of meetings we had were with some consultants, and they really gathered a lot of information on kind of specific sections of Ruston Way. People got to kind of design the roadway in small sections. So do they want more trees at that spot? Do they want it wider for, like I said, a divided roadway for bikes and pedestrians? And we should get that report late spring.
And then after that report comes out, then what's the timeline then for people seeing changes that might actually come?
That then is in conjunction with the city, because Metro and the city own most of that property jointly. We'll then have to start putting it into a budget process and see how much things cost and where we go from there. With sea level rise, that was another concern of people, of how do we protect ourselves.
Right. Well, it sounds like a lot of interesting, fantastic amenities that might be coming to the North End, or even as it moves out to the west also. So that's pretty exciting. And then also, speaking of working with the city and big projects, I'm going to switch now to Elliott, because another big project in the North End is something we've talked about on the show before, which is the Cushman substation site. And there was obviously there's a big celebration really of that site back in September. 1,000 people came to take a peek inside the building, even on a rainy day. So that Discover Cushman event helped the neighborhood, I think, realize how important this site is to people. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about how that where that site is in terms of the process of it being repurposed.
It'd be my pleasure, yeah. Well, the site itself, as folks will probably know, is located on 21st Street in Adams, just a block from Proctor. And it's an entire block of the neighborhood there, plus a portion of the block next to it. And for the entire history of the city, it's been a power station, or two small power stations. And so we've all gotten used to having it there. It's been part of the neighborhood. And now with Tacoma Public Utilities power, no longer needing it for that power purpose, it's just created this opportunity to reimagine what it's going to be. And there's been great leadership from the community, from the North End Neighborhood Council, Friends of Cushman, as well as our elected officials. And the site's now been nominated and designated as historic. The structures are going to be there, part of the site. And next step is we're going to get to have a community conversation about what the people would like to see inside those buildings and on the sites. So
we have some, and the site is actually, when you say a city block, I mean, I realize that's pretty large, but so many people drive up and down 21st, and I don't think really realize how large a piece of property it really is. There's a little bit of a drone video, I think, that we're showing that where you can really get a sense of how large that space is. Not just the building itself, which is also quite large, but just the land around it is big. So what are the ways, and TPU's been removing some of the old equipment from that site, so it makes it seem maybe right now people are starting to see how big it is. So what kind of process, how can people be involved if they want to see how things are going to work out there?
Right. Well, this show is really a sort of a coming soon invitation for everybody to kind of pay attention. The city and TPU right now are putting together our teams and developing an outreach and engagement approach. And so over the course of 2019, probably summer, maybe into fall, we're going to be going out to the community and inviting everybody to come and visit the site, spend some time there. We'll have meetings inside the building. And in many different ways, we're going to ask people to first just start trying to imagine what the possibilities for the site are. And nothing's been determined yet in terms of its use. So we're going to start with a broad listening session, and the Neighborhood Council and others are helping us to broaden that reach and invite not just folks from the neighborhood, but from the entire city and the entire region, really, because there are lots of important opportunities here. There's the history of the site to the neighborhood and to the utility and to the growth of the city. And that's just something that's really neat to be able to go into a building that as general citizens we've never been able to go into. Mm-hmm. But now, it's going to become accessible, it's going to have a new life. So what should that be? And so we're going to go through that, and after having a broad listening session, we're going to start to gather information. We're going to have experts in terms of design and use of the site, the environmental conditions, all sorts of the technical nuts and bolts that we need to know to figure out what the potential future uses are. And so through the course of this public process through 2019 and into the beginning of 2020, we're going to be having this, we're ultimately going to result in several preferred scenarios and really just, all the information that our decision makers are going to need to evaluate, which of those scenarios to pursue. And
that sounds pretty great. And people can find out more in a couple different ways, right? They can, like I pointed out earlier, you can follow the North End Neighborhood Council because we'll be advertising it on our Facebook page. But also the city has a page also, which I think we have a screenshot maybe of that page. So people can go to the city's website to find out how they can become engaged in this process as well.
Absolutely. I encourage everybody to go visit the page. And also, we're working closely with the Neighborhood Council. So right now, the Neighborhood Council is out in front. You've got all sorts of great information on Cushman Adams. And so you're helping to do more than we just as a city might be able to do by ourselves. So I encourage everybody, go check out the Neighborhood Council's page, the Friends of Cushman and Adams substation page for all that history and information about the site. But as we start really moving into the process, visit the webpage. We're going to be making a big splash. And so everybody's going to have a chance to know when those opportunities are going to come. And it's going to be fun. I hope that everybody will come and participate. And we're going to have experts to help with graphics and drawing and design, as well as just conversations. So lots of different ways for people to come and give your input.
And by saying everybody come participate, I mean, that could also mean Metro Parks. I mean, Metro Parks I know is also interested in this site as well. Do you want to say a few things about that?
I was going to say, yeah. As you all know, we had a huge bond that the voters approved in 2014, and that was 60 projects. Of course, the big ones are pretty much completed now. We've got 30 on our plate for 2019 and 2020 of the smaller ones, but we will be involved with Cushman. We will have people there listening along with the city.
That's fantastic. It's always nice when the city organizations work together to make better things for the neighborhoods. That's really great. So projects, is there anything else you want to add right before we wrap up here? Things that you're particularly excited about, either with Ruston or with Cushman, that you see? What's your big excited thing that you want to mention here at the end? You got anything?
So the Dune Peninsula next to Point Ruston will be open this spring, along with the bridge, so that you will be able to walk from Ruston Way into Point Defiance.
That's pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to actually going to concerts at Dune Peninsula. I've seen that amphitheater.
Yep.
And?
I like having public access to something that is important for historical reasons, and also that was designed for a certain purpose, and now we get to go and use it for something new. It's always so cool when people get a chance to have hands-on contact with something like that.
Yep, I agree. Thank you so much for sharing those thoughts about the things that are coming to North End. It is pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to the increase in the kinds of things that we can build together. So thank you. So that brings us here to the end of this segment. I just want to remind people the North End Neighborhood Council meetings are the first Mondays of the month at 6 p.m. at Trimble Hall on the University of Puget Sound campus. And also, of course, again, you can find us on our website or follow us on Facebook. For the North End Neighborhood Moment, I'm Kyle Price. I will see you next time, or maybe around the neighborhood.
For more information on what's going on in your neighborhood, log on to the city's website, cityoftacoma.org/neighborhood councils.